Somewhere I Belong, Chapter 12, Part 4. Sorry, there's just so many books, she said in excitement. Yeah, my dad was a huge bookworm. If you don't mind me asking, darling, where did you get the money to pay for this? Rarity asked. Well, when my folks died, they left me this house, he said in a flat tone. Rarity gulped. Oh, I'm sorry, she said in a low tone. It's fine. On with the tour, he said as he walked out of the room. He grabbed Twilight's arm and dragged her out of the study. The group followed the man upstairs. The mares walked into a room with papers and other things strewn across the floor. Isaac rubbed his head and chuckled. Sorry, I should probably clean this place up. It's not too bad, Rainbow added. Well, considering your room, Rainbow, you'd think a pigsty was neat, Applejack said with a smirk. Hey, I clean when I have guests over, she protested. The mares looked around the room to see posters and pictures hanging up on the gray walls, a bed and bookshelf leaning against the far wall. Isaac walked out of the room and led the group back downstairs, where the tan stallion was waiting. Is everything where it should be? He asked with a smile. Yeah, it's all here, Doc. I can't thank you enough for this. Oh, relax. No, really. If you need anything at all, don't hesitate to ask. The stallion smiled and patted him on the back. Can I ask you something? Shoot. Why do this all for me? I know we're friends and all, but bringing my house from another dimension, don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful, but I can't help wondering how you did it and why, he said as the mares looked at the stallion. The doctor let out a sigh and looked at the man. Trust me, Isaac. I know what it's like to not have a home to go back to, and that's something no one should go through. In a way, you remind me of myself. Well, if you find yourself in this dimension, my door is always open, he said with a smile. The stallion smiled and shook the human's outstretched hand. Now, if you need me, I'll be in the 1960s, he said with a grin. Say hi to JFK for me, Isaac said with a grin. The stallion let out a chuckle and walked out of the house into his big blue box. The human gave a final wave as the box started to vanish. He turned back to the stunned mares and grinned. Now then, who wants dinner? The 6 mares sat at the dinner table and watched as the human chopped up fresh vegetables and threw them into a stir-fry pan. You guys are lucky that I dated a vegetarian for 2 months, he said as he finished and put the vegetables and noodles on their plates. What is this? Twilight asked. Stir-fry noodles and vegetables, he said with a smile. Twilight gulped and looked at her friends, who had the same look of uncertainty on their faces. They all took a bite at the same time. Their eyes shrank at the flavor in their mouth. What, you don't like it? It's great, Rainbow yelled as she scarfed the rest of it down. Yeah, this stuff is delicious, Pinkie said with a smile. Where did you learn to cook like this? Rarity asked as she took another bite. When you live on your own, you need to learn to cook for yourself, he said as he ate his pile. The group soon started to chat about the other adventures they've had. Though out of the conversation, Twilight looked at the man with a suspicious look in her eyes. Something wrong, Twilight? Isaac asked as he noticed the mare's expression. Can I make an observation? Sure. Since you've been here, your personality has changed quite a bit. I guess all I'm saying is that I'm a little surprised to see how relaxed you are. Well, when I first got here, I was way out of my comfort zone, and to be honest, I was a little freaked out. So I naturally kept my distance, he said as the mares looked at him in shock. Now that I've actually gotten to know you all, I'm a bit more relaxed, not to mention having some familiar ground to stand on, he said with a grin. The mares smiled warmly back at him. Rarity let out a yawn and rubbed her eyes. Well, this has been fun, but a lady needs her beauty sleep, she said as she got to her feet. I'll do some digging and see if I can find any fashion magazines around. Thank you, darling. Ta-ta, she said as she left the house. I'd better get home soon. Mac will be wondering where I am, AJ said with a grin. She gave the human a hug and left the odd home. I just remembered. The cakes need me to watch the twins, Pinkie said as she charged out the door. I'd better get home and feed Angel Bunny, the timid mare said as she left the home. I have weather duty in the morning. See you later, Rainbow said with a wink. Isaac walked back into the study and came out with a book in his hand. Hey, Twilight, here, he said as he handed her the book. It's a book that overviews human history. Not everything is in there, but enough to give you a basic understanding, he said with a grin. Thank you, and Isaac, I'm really sorry about... It's fine, Twilight. We all act crazy when we get too emotional. If I cut off a friend for every time they overreacted, I'd have no friends at all. The mare smiled and gave him a hug before she left. Isaac closed the door behind her and let out a satisfied sigh. He made his way upstairs and laid down on his old bed. Man, it's good to be back home, he said with a smile. The human drifted off to sleep in his familiar surroundings. As the doctor vanished inside the TARDIS, He'd hung his head in shame. He pulled something up on the screen and let out a sigh. He bashed his fist down on the console and groaned. No, he can't know. Not yet. The stallion said as he threw a few switches and sped off through time and space. Isaac awoke to find himself in a plain white room with a familiar alicorn princess smiling at him. Princess Luna? Hello, Isaac, she said with a grin. What are we doing here? Well, my sister's intentions are good. We believe it's better to learn how to control power rather than seal it, she said as she approached the man. I'm not following. We will train you to control your magic. Isaac looked at her in surprise. Who better to teach you than the one who gave you that power? Good point. I'm just worried that I'll go out of control again, he said in a low tone. That won't happen with my guidance. How will this even work? I mean, I'm dreaming, right? The mayor gave him a nod. So how will any of the things you're going to teach me stick? You're forgetting that we can manipulate dreams. We cast a spell so you will remember what we've taught you when you wake, she said, still holding the smile. This is of course voluntary. Should you not wish us to be your mentor, then we completely understand. Isaac bit his lip and weighed his options. Okay, so what should we do first, Master Luna? He said with a bow. Thank you for allowing us to teach you. We would like to keep this just between us. Why? My sister might not approve, and we fear that Twilight Sparkle will become jealous. I understand. I won't tell a soul, he said with a smile. Splendid. Lesson 1. Levitation.